The NFL Week 2 recap is here. If you guys don't know how this video works, I highly recommend watching the other video from Week 1 last week, watching that after this video. But basically, long story short, you guys already know who won and who lost, so we're not going to be really recapping that, but we're going to be recapping the best quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, the worst quarterback, wide receiver, and running back, and also a couple of defensive players really good, a couple of defensive players that are really bad, best kicker, all that, etc. Because you got it kind of highlights the really good players from last week, so I kind of wanted to give the shout out to the players, and unfortunately not a shout out to the bad players. But let's get into it. The best quarterback from the NFL in week 2. But by the way, this is the whole entire NFL, not AFC, NFC, whatever. Best quarterback, definitely Kyler Murray. He went 17 for 21, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns, 158.3 passer rating, which is a perfect passer rating. He also had 59 yards carrying with 5 attempts. He completely destroyed his Rams defense. You know, they were just all over the place. Him and Marvin Harrison were just killing it. Definitely Kyler Murray, the quarterback of the week. And now the running back of the week is definitely an easy choice. Alvin Kamara from the Saints. He just completely torched the Cowboys. He had 20 carries for 115 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he also had 2 receptions for 65 yards and also a touchdown. 4 touchdowns total. Kamara just completely destroyed this team. I mean, he was running all over left and right. It was just an absolute beautiful performance from him. Yeah, he was definitely the clear choice for the running back of the week. The wide receiver of the week, at least in my opinion, is going back to the Rams and Cardinals game. Marvin Harrison, bro, he completely balled out. A lot better than last week. Last week, he was actually my worst rated player of the wide receivers. Now he's the best one. That's actually pretty funny. He had 4 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He also did have 8 targets. He had a couple, not drops, but of course, 4 balls that went his way, but still did really good against a very good Rams defense. Like I just said about Kyler Murray, he was definitely the wide receiver of the week. Now, the worst quarterback of the week, unfortunately, back-to-back weeks, it's Bryce Young, and now it was just announced yesterday that he is officially benched for who knows how long, but Andy Dalton is now starting. He went 18 for 26, which is actually not too bad of a percentage, but 84 yards, no touchdowns, an interception. I mean, his quarterback rating was a 57.2. He was just not it. He definitely had a lot of bad throws. Like I said, the completion percentage is not that bad, but I mean, it's just so unfortunate, dude. He is so bad. Worst running back from the league was DeAndre Swift from the Bears. He had 14 carries for 18 yards against the Houston Texans, 1.3 average. Obviously, no touchdowns. He basically did nothing. Actually, I'm sorry. He had 24 yards in the passing game, but still, freaking 1.3 yards per carry is horrible, dude. He definitely deserved it. Now, the worst wide receiver, at least in my opinion, you know, when it comes to these players, by the way, I'm like, these players that should be doing a lot better. And of course, there's players that, you know, like nobody knows and they did really bad. But I'm talking about good players, or at least average players, by the way. I just want to say that real quick. But the worst wide receiver, in my opinion, was Amari Cooper. He had 3 catches for 11 yards, which of course is a 3.7 average. But he had 8 targets, no touchdowns, of course, a couple of drops. You know, it just felt like he could not get open against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Whenever the ball was thrown to him, he got nothing, etc. Just a really bad week from him. Now, the best offensive rookie in the NFL, this includes a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, not offensive line, just the skill positions. Malik Neighbors definitely deserves this. He had 10 receptions for 127 yards, with Daniel Jones is pretty damn good. Also a touchdown. He had 18 targets, so he was targeted a lot. But again, you know, being a number 1 wide receiver with Daniel Jones is not too good. He could have had a lot of bad throws, but Malik Neighbors had a really good week, so I thought he was perfect for this. Just like what we did last week, the best kicker, we're going to be doing that every week because they're a very crucial part. The best kicker is Austin Searbird. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. He literally scored all the points for the Washington Commanders. 7 for 7 field goal, 100% of course, because he made 7 for 7. His longest was a 45, and he also made that game-winning field goal against the Giants. You know, if it wasn't for him, they literally would have 0 points, just like Chris Boswell last week. So he was definitely the kicker of the week. Now, moving on to the defensive side of the ball, we're going to be talking about the best D-line, which is the inside and edge rushers. Then we're going to talk about the linebackers, which is the outside and the inside, and then the secondary, which is the cornerbacks and the safeties. For the D-line, the best player of the week was definitely Aiden Hutchinson. He had 4.5 sacks. He had a 90.9 overall grade, 6 total tackles, 1 hurry, and he also had a forced fumble. This dude was complete havoc, wrecking havoc against the Buccaneers. He was all over the place, especially in that second half. He definitely deserves it this week. Now, the best linebacker in the league, at least in my opinion, definitely the top rated linebacker in the league already, Fred Warner. He had a 95.8 overall grade with a 94.2 overall coverage. He had a sack. He had, 7 tackles. He also had an interception, a pass breakup. He was completely all over the field. Also, 2 forced fumbles. Like I said, he definitely deserved this week. Even though the team lost, he still was the best player on the field. The best secondary player. Now, granted, there was a lot of players that did really good this week in the cornerback and the safety room, but I had to pick Jamarcus Ingram from the Bills. He only had a 76.2 overall grade. His tackle percentages wasn't that bad. He also barely played, but whenever he did play, he had 2 interceptions, including a pick 6, 2 pass deflections. Barely being on the field and having 2 interceptions in a game is really good. I don't care what your tackle percentage is or whatever, but he was definitely the secondary player of the week for sure. The worst defensive line of the week was with the Cincinnati Bengals, Zach Carter. In 45 total snaps, he had a grade of a 28.7, which is obviously really, really, really bad. He also had 1 missed tackle and also 1 tackle, but he had no pressures. He had 1 stop, no hits, no hurries, nothing like that. For playing 45 snaps that have no rush, pressure or anything like that, also a missed tackle, no bueno. The worst linebacker of the week is Kenneth Murray of the Titans. In 54 snaps, he had an overall grade of a 27.7, just like Zach Carter, really not good at all. He had a couple of tackles, 1 missed tackle, but he gave up a lot of receiving yards, 73 overall receiving yards, and also 2 touchdowns against the Jets. So yeah, that is a recipe for disaster as a linebacker. And now the worst secondary player of the week, cornerbacks and safeties, was Terrion Arnold. He did not do good at all. He had an overall grade of a 33.2. He only had 1 tackle, which is okay as a cornerback, but he gave up 3 catches on 3 targets for 72 yards and a touchdown, a perfect passer rating of 158.3. He did play against Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, so I will give him the benefit of the doubt. But still, he didn't force any incompletions, no pass breakups or nothing. But technically the worst graded cornerback of the week. And the best graded defensive player of the rookie side is definitely Kamari Lassiter, the safety of the Texans. He had an overall grade of a 90 on 70 total snaps, which is obviously very, very, very good. 3 tackles, no missed tackles. He only gave up 2 catches for 20 yards on 7 targets, which is really good. And also, of course, the interception to basically seal the game for the Texans. Yeah, definitely the best overall rookie on the defensive side. Now, just like we did last week, we're going to go over the injuries and kind of the player, the injury location, and basically how long he's gonna be out. There was a lot of injuries, so you're gonna have to bear with me here. We're gonna do a speed run, okay? Tua Tagovailoa, of course, the quarterback of the Dolphins, he had a concussion. He is to be determined. Tajay Spears, the running back of the Titans, he has an ankle injury. He is day to day. The biggest blow of the week, probably Isaiah Pacheco, the running back of the Chiefs. He has an ankle injury at least several weeks. Justin Jefferson, we all know him. He had a thigh injury against the 49ers. He is currently day to day. Another wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, he had an ankle injury. He's out for at least a few weeks. Another top tier wide receiver, the 49ers, Deebo Samuel, he had a calf injury. He's also out for at least a few weeks. It was basically announced last night that AJ Brown has a hamstring injury. He's going to be at least missing a few weeks, just like the other wide receivers. Latu, I can never pronounce his name. I am so sorry. He had a hip injury against the Packers. He is currently day to day. A defensive lineman for the Buccaneers, Vita Vea, he had a knee injury against the Lions. He is also day to day. Another defensive player for the Colts, DeForest Buckner, had a leg injury. He's week to week currently. Linebacker for the Jets, CJ Mosley, he had a foot injury. his injury designation is to be determined. Jermaine Johnson, the defensive player for the Jets, he had a torn Achilles, definitely out for the season. That is a big blow for the Jets. And the last but not least, the linebacker for the Patriots, Jawan Bensley, he had a torn pec. He is out also for the rest of the season. Another big blow for the Patriots. That wraps up this segment of the NFL recap. If you like it, hit that like button and comment down below your biggest reaction. I always want to see your comments down below, but I'm out of here. Deuces.